Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out, patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle. Niall, if I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman?
Look, I will call you Superman because that's what I've called you ever since I met you, because when I first met you it was at a Halloween party and you were wearing a Superman costume. Oh wait, no, that was an anime costume. But still, I've called you Superman for a very long time, and I hope that will continue long past today.
I'm so glad to hear it. The other important question is, if I'm alive and well, will you still be there holding my hand? I've been wondering that. I mean, that's up to you. But
yeah, I mean, I think that I am geographically that might be somewhat difficult, but metaphorically, yeah, I think I feel like whenever you're in a bind, you can reach out and I'm there,
Thank
I think that is I think that's the bare minimum for podcast co-hosts, because I think podcast co-hosts all need to have deeply personal relationships where they take care of each other in kind of an emotionally dependent situation.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. And, I mean, look, Niall, my love language is physical touch. So, but I guess I can take a metaphorical handhold. That's fine too. That'll work.
Maybe we'll set a Patreon stretch goal to buy those watches or whatever that you can tap and it vibrates on the other side of it.
Yeah, donor goal, get us to get Love Sense apps and the little devices. I'm assuming.
I'm not talking the sex toy ones.
Oh.
I'm talking just there's ones for long distance couples, but sure. I mean, if you want to experiment with Bluetooth enabled smart vibrators, then who am I to judge?
It could be an interesting way to communicate hey, I'm ready to record.
And honestly, it's also it's a tried and true chess strategy too. So I think that honestly it might work in podcasting as well.
Yeah, Niall's I got a great new Bigfoot related episode, and then I feel that telltale tickle, and you know where.
Yeah.
No, I was just reminiscing with some friends about how when I have no idea if I've told this on the show before, but my bar mitzvah, when I had my bar mitzvah, I remember I burnt over 100 CDs for guests who were attending, and the CDs were all just my favorite songs I was listening to at the time. And
you made a mix CD for your bar mitzvah guests.
Yes, and I know for a fact one of the songs that was on there was Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. And I think there's some Beatles and stuff in there. I don't think I think I wanted to put Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz on there or something like that, but I wasn't allowed to.
I do think that it's fun that you can clearly see that this is pre the line of demarcation of when I entered your life.
Yeah,
because if your mix CD does not include a single track that could have a genre tag that is punk.
No, probably
and
not.
it is a very pre getting into weird music mix CD in a way that is fun to reminisce, because I have stuff like that too from before I got into punk, where it was a mix CD that would have Linkin Park and
right.
fucking a 1,000-Foot Crutch, because I had a Christian CD. I had a CD of the Christian band 1,000-Foot Crutch.
You had what you had access to.
Yeah, and then ABBA and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my mixed CDs are all just Green Day, Streetlight Manifesto, The Clash, and AFI and shit, and
Hell yeah.
it's a totally different era. You know?
I remember I was the kid. I used to burn so many CDs, and that's now become playlist making for me in my adult life. But I was the kid who. Let me put it this way: I was not only able to get a copy of the latest Gorillaz album before it came out, but I burnt copies of it. I think probably with missing tracks or something like that for friends who wanted to hear the album who were also Gorillaz fans, and I kind of miss being able to just burn CDs, put it in my Walkman, and just all that stuff's at my fingertips now. So it's the same thing, but there is something. The tactile experience of holding the music in my hand was, man, there's younger listeners out there who are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? These are all MP3s.
All right, boys, we got him. This has been an almost 10-year long sting operation to get you under both pirating music and distributing pirated funds out into the world back in middle school. So we finally got you. You're gonna be arrested in 3 to 5 business days because that's how quickly this stuff works nowadays. And the podcast is over because we got you.
I didn't First of all, how dare you? Second of all, I plead no statute of limitations. So suck on that. Think about that.
I honestly don't know what the statute of limitations on piracy is.
I mean,
but here's the thing: if it hurts a corporation, I'm sure somebody's going to find a way to make you pay for it. So,
honestly, Damon Albarn, one of the main guys behind Gorillaz, obviously lots of people involved in that band, but I feel like if Damon Albarn knew that a young American child was distributing his music to his friends before the official release of the album, he'd say something to the effect of like, woohoo! I think that's probably, he probably would be fine with it.
You got me there. That was a good one. I was expecting you to start quoting Gorillaz, but you dipped further back in the catalog. The only thing more fun would have been if you dropped some Good, the Bad, and the Queen references on me.
Yeah, that was another one that I had on a burnt CD in high school.
I bought that CD at a Best Buy.
Hell yeah.
For some reason, I was never a big Gorillaz fan. Like, there are Gorillaz songs I like and stuff, but I never got into them the way that you did. But I fucking loved The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, and I think it is because it included the bass player from The Clash in it. Right? So, like, yeah, Paul Simonon, which sounds like you're saying another famous musician wrong. So, like, for whatever reason, the only Damon Albarn project that I had, like, an extensive personal connection to is that first Good, the Bad, and the Queen record, and I don't really know why, because it's not bad by any means, but it's not like that good. Like it's kind of interesting, it's cool. But it's an artifact almost to me.
But I mean, this is probably World of Weird material, but like I love Gorillaz. I got into them really, really hard. Forever ago. And it blew my mind that you could have an animated band, like a band that was composed of cartoon characters and had its own deep lore, but also made these like weirdo electronic dub tracks, but then they would also feature big names and stuff like that. That was like also probably my first exposure to being into rap music, like was through Gorillaz.
It's really funny that when you think about it, Gorillaz is kind of a band tailor-made for you.
Yeah.
Like, the confluence of, like, 90s alt-rocky Damon Albarn stuff with, like, electronic instruments and also hip-hop influence, and also there's an entire animated element with a bunch of lore and stuff to follow. It is so specifically, like, it's so specifically
yes.
Kyle. If I were to build a band from the ground up with for Kyle, it would probably be something like that, only it might have been slightly noisier nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays definitely. I mean, I still go back to Gorillaz. I still love them. And I think that though that the stuff that I'm into now, I still like them, but I do think I owe a huge debt to Gorillaz for getting me into a more weirder music, more experimental stuff, especially when it comes to electronic music. Like I don't think I would have had the fascination. We're really going down a rabbit hole here, so I'm gonna cut this off here in a moment. But I wouldn't have gotten, I think, into Anticon and Cloud Dead and all that stuff the way that I did if it wasn't for Gorillaz. So that's
I'm not sure you would have gotten into like Boards of Canada type stuff either. It's all of your kind of Anyway,
definitely. Anyways, that's we'll
if you want more talk like this, patreon.com/it gets weird.
Basically, you just gotta like 2-minute preview of what that show is like. So check out our Patreon. But Niall, I do have a really quick email for you, if you would like. So the subject line is OMG in all caps. This is from Eric. And it says, I fucking love you guys and gal occasionally, LOL. Just want to say that I am 10 episodes away from finally catching up. I wish I had the extra bank to support y'all. I got a couple of paranormal stories in the bank, but I'll save that for later. Just wanted to let y'all know. Keep it up. Hey, thank you, Eric. And I appreciate you emailing us to let us know that there will be a story, an actual story in the email sometime in the future. So thanks for the sort of
I like
preview.
I like this email as kind of just straight up like it's a prep email for a future possible email,
yes.
Really just kind of staking your claim so that you can then look back and we'll know who you are. You establish yourself, and then next time you email us, you'll have a story or have caught all the way up or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah,
that's great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And thank you. I mean, getting an email that just says how much they love us. I mean, that's... Jeez, thank you.
It never gets old.
It never gets old, but at the same time, it's also like I'm very appreciative of the comments. But when I read that, I just am like, it kind of washes over me in a way that it passes through me immediately and does not. It's hard for me. It's still hard for me all these years later to think of this podcast as anything but two jerk offs, making a show for about a dozen people.
In my head, nobody listens to this. I don't know how it would function if I don't know how I would function if I was consistently thinking about the fact that people actually listen to what I say on this podcast.
No, I think that is a constitutive element of this show, is that neither of us think about the fact that we have an audience. Anyways, thank you very much for the email. It's very kind.
I do all of my notes just to impress Kyle. That's really all this is about, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, speaking of notes, this week I did prep an episode, and today
God.
Kyle. I know I figured someday I'm just gonna come in and we're just gonna wing it, and I'm just gonna try to make it up from scratch. But we haven't. I think I've been threatening to do that for about 6 years now. So
someday we'll do that.
Yeah, but instead this week I wanted to talk. We've done a lot of episodes in the last year or two, digging back into the early days of UFO investigations and alien encounters and stuff. So I wanted to take a slightly different tact this week and go for a very recent, somewhat major UFO encounter that we have yet to cover.
Oh, okay. Recent, you say. Interesting.
Yeah, because Kyle, today we're going to talk about the 2016 Pentyrch UFO crash in Wales.
Ooh. Huh. I'm trying to think if I know about that. I feel like there are some not obscure, but there's some like UFO related moments that I think slip under the radar in the contemporary discourse surrounding UFOs on the English-speaking side of the internet. But you hear about them. Like the one that I always think of that I'm like, I really got to do this. I think there was like a big UFO. I don't want to like get this wrong, but I think that like out in, I want to say Iraq, there was some sort of weird UFO situation that may have been in the, not as recent. It may have been in the 80s, but I think that I hope I'm not getting those wrong. But anyways, point is, some of this stuff just slips under the radar, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm curious I don't know if I know this just based off the title.
We'll see, because there's a couple things involved, because like it's referred to as the Pentyrch UFO incident or the Pentyrch UFO crash, but the crash technically took place in the Smilog Woods, which is near the outskirts of a town called Launtresant. So like all of those names get thrown around when you're talking about this case, but those are all the same thing. We're dealing with a UFO sighting and then possible crash, and a lot of possible military presence, which is kind of the thing that I was getting into. Kind of brought me into this episode because this feels like an old school UFO case where like something happened and it got covered up. But it happened in 2016.
Yeah.
Like it kind of drew me in that respect because like I'm used to stuff like this. Like we'll get into this as we go along, but the story is very, I could see this happening in like, the 70s or even the 80s, but it is in the last 10 years, which is interesting to me. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight comes from a fantastic article on UFOinsight.com from February 8th of 2022 called The Pentyrch UFO Crash, a cover-up of a downed alien craft by the UK military by Marcus Loth. There's also some stuff. There's a paranormal... I've got the name of the YouTube thing a little bit further down. There's a video documentary that I was watching that filled in some gaps, along with a couple other, I think there's an Anomalien article that I was looking at.
I just realized you didn't. I thought you said that this was. I thought you said that this was a downed UFO in Turkey, which is why I.
No.
Sorry, I totally missed.
No, Pentyrch. Pentyrch, Wales.
Oh, okay. Hey, my bad. That whole thing about the English-speaking side of the internet or whatever. This is you can go ahead and throw all that out. This is probably, but there is also the sort of inherent aversion to Europe that American UFO stories tend to have. So at the same time, what I said still makes sense, but for different reasons, I guess.
Yeah, so this is a town called Pentyrch, Wales. It's like 15 miles outside of Cardiff. So you're because like there's a thing later on with the Cardiff International Airport that we'll talk about. So we're in that area of Wales. So this is a small town. This all took place in February of 2016. And the overall thing is basically there was a pretty extravagant UFO sighting that may or may not have involved the Royal Air Force and the Welsh or English military fighting a UFO.
Nice.
And then leading to a downed aircraft. And this was all witnessed by multiple people, including there's someone who's written a book about it that's like the main source that we'll talk about. But it's... Yeah, and we have like a whole thing with there's a whole cover-up aspect to it. Basically, we got some stuff to talk about, so we'll go ahead and just launch into it. So yeah, this is a pretty major recent sighting in the UK. The whole thing starts around 2 a.m. the night of, I think it's, where was it? I think it's February 2016. So I think it's like, I forget the exact date, but it's in sometime in February, when people started to call the police station, reporting the sounds of low-flying helicopters and aircraft heading out and kind of circling around above their houses in the small town of Pentyrch, Wales. You can find some of these calls online because there have been multiple Freedom of Information Act requests pertaining to this case, and the one that led to the release of some of these 911 calls that were reporting these sounds and stuff in the middle of the night here. So you can actually hear the full-on things if you want to listen to them all. I found transcripts of them, basically. So a bunch of people were calling saying, hey, there's all these like helicopters and shit. They were literally citing them as Chinooks and stuff, like military, full-blown, double-engine, massive fucking helicopters.
So it would have been a lot of noise.
Yes. It was keeping people up. They were complaining, and they were unable to sleep. And there also then were a series of bright lights that people just started to see. The main kind of person that is the main, she wrote the book, she is the main kind of witness of this thing, is a woman named Kaz Clark, who lives near the site, basically, and was able to just basically go out into her backyard and see all of this, including some of the aftermath. So she's one that will be quoted quite a bit going forward and is kind of the main character of this story, Kaz Clark. So yeah, the callers signaled a, quote, helicopter flying very low. It's come around 7 or 8 times. It's a big double engine one, and it's causing their houses to shake. Eventually, there were a series of like explosions that people heard. And so there was a lot of kind of confusion. I'm starting with just like what the phone people said, because it's the most provable stuff, is that a bunch of loud helicopters went past in the middle of the night. There was a series of lights that people reported, and then what sounded like full-blown explosions took place that shook houses. And then you started to get you get the actual sightings from Kaz Clark and some people later. But this was all explained away as a military training drill entitled Exercise Chameleon, which, as far as I can tell, is a bi-yearly, so every 2 years way, military exercise where they're communicating between the military and the Royal Air Force and doing coordinated drills. This is a thing that is supposedly this is the official explanation for everything that happened. However, there are people that will cite the fact that the actual Exercise Chameleon took place somewhere else in England weeks previously. So like there's a lot of kind of confusion as to whether this official explanation, and there's some other explanations later that also people have issues with. Largely, people aren't fully satisfied with the explanation of the Exercise Chameleon training drill.
What are the sources on the dates of Chameleon? Then, like, did they find through Freedom of Information Act the official date of, like, if it was taking place elsewhere at a different date? Is that corroborated in any way, or?
I did not find a full-blown corroboration, just because I don't think this is the kind okay, so here's the best way I can explain why we don't have a date for this. Every time they would try to get information like that is pertaining to the moving of military vehicles or the timing of these drills or everything else, they got hit with what's known as a Section 26 notice, which is basically the government saying this stuff is involving national security, so you don't get to know it.
Yeah, okay.
So all of this stuff is based off of, like, there's a thing later that I think is tied to this, that the reason we have any information about this stuff at all is because there are people who literally just, like, watch the comings and goings around airports, and will, like, track stuff going in and out. And so, like, there's a thing later where a plane that is specifically used to move high-ranking officials for the UK governments around landed at Cardiff International Airport days after this happened, and there's basically no one knows what official was coming to the area, because there's no public events that line up with this. And so the thought is it was some high-ranking person that was involved in the cover-up of all this stuff. And so there are these people that just, like, watch airports and track what comes in and out. And it's not like using the official flight logs. It's just people that are, like, plane fanatics.
Okay.
And so we have random information that people are correlating with all of this stuff, basically.
I also, this is something I would have to look up, but I'm going to mention it because it's a thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's also some special UK-specific gag order laws that I think also complicate FOIA requests and things of that nature.
Sure.
I'm not going to be able to pull any. Somebody out there might know what I'm talking about, but it's something that I remember reading about when looking into, like, military intelligence and like the CIA and the UK relationship as well. Like, so I think they have some sort of. I'll look into this and I'll get back to you on this, but I do believe they have some sort of special extra restrictive gag orders they can make on certain kinds of information. that make
Fair.
trying to uncover certain things very, very difficult.
Yeah, the idea of the Section 26 thing came up a lot in doing research on this. Like, there were certain requests that they got stuff out from, like the 911 calls, but a lot of the stuff pertaining to this, because it's specifically asking about military operations and, like, drills and stuff, gets hit with that Section 26. So, let's get into the actual account of the main witness, Kaz Clark, because that's when things get more UFO-y and interesting. So Kaz Clark, like I mentioned, co-wrote a book called The Pentyrch Incident, the greatest UFO cover-up of modern times, with a UFO researcher named Gary Jones, who became involved in this after the fact and kind of has helped Kaz Clark do research on the aftermath of this and try to do the Freedom of Information Act requests. Like, he's kind of behind a lot of that stuff. So the night of the incident, Kaz Clark was started to see strange lights and hear a bunch of noises coming from the fields behind her house, which led her to go out and do some investigation, check out the skies, look into everything. And what she saw was a large, like, massive pyramid-shaped light in the sky. So the way that she did not take pictures. So there are pictures that you will find online. They are all, quote, artist renderings based off of the accounts. But here is what you will find when you look online and how it's described in certain things. You have 3 very bright lights on the various, on, like, the points of the triangle, and then a series of spaced lesser lights between those points, making the overall triangle, which is what makes people believe this was one large craft, and not, along with stuff coming out of it later, but it's thought of as a very large triangular craft floating over the fields in this Welsh town.
Yeah, okay, I can picture that set of lights. It's a classic UFO phenomenon, but pyramid had me thinking, the evil council from the from Kung Pao,
from Kung Pao, yeah,
and
they're French.
And as we all know, they're French, so I mean, they could have been in the area. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure. So, she then she made a couple different comments based on like, one of the things that's interesting about this one is supposedly these lights were not seen. Basically, they appeared out of nowhere. She, on an episode of UFO Conspiracies, which is a television show that Clark appeared on that covered this case, Clark basically insinuated that these lights and this craft came out of some sort of portal into, just kind of appeared out of nowhere from a portal, and yeah, so it didn't, like, it's not like this thing came from far away and kind of came over and went on top. It just came out of nowhere.
Now, that, to me, that colors my perception of Clark a little bit, because it sounds like, I just feel like as soon as you're speculating that it's a UFO that was summoned through a portal, you're already basically in extraterrestrial or interdimensional territory with your UFO speculation. What do you? Is that where we're headed with this guy? And the woman who made the initial call and wrote the book, do you get the impression? Maybe we're headed this way, and you'll tell me. But, like, do you get the impression that she was a UFO, an invested UFO fan prior to the sighting, or was it like just a citizen who randomly saw something weird and then gets wrapped up in the UFO community because they were, documenting it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. So I wasn't able to independently corroborate this, but part of some interviews that I watched with her in this, one of them in this documentary that on the channel that I have listed a little bit lower in my notes, she does say that before this incident, she was not interested in nor believed in UFOs. So when it happened, she didn't have anyone to, like, talk about it with. And she had to kind of she ended up finding, I think, like, the Swansea, like a UFO organization,
sort of
basically.
group, yeah.
She found, and that's what connected her with Gary Jones, who then helped her kind of go. But like I said, I could not independently from sources that were not her specifically corroborate that.
The gravitational pull of people who already are interested in trying to explain UFO phenomenon in a very woo-wooey way, that gravitational pull just tends to suck witnesses in like that. You know what I mean? That then the narrative changes. I'm curious if there will be more on these two people. But it is always interesting to me where it's like you have the person who didn't necessarily have any sort of vested interest in UFOs, maybe didn't really even have much personal speculation about what they are, and then they get in contact with the UFO group, and then they get sent to a UFO investigator who is a person who like almost always has some sort of prior interest in like an extraterrestrial hypothesis. I just think, especially like now, within the last like 30 years, that there's less of the quote unquote scientific analysis of UFOs and more of the we're already going to make the leap that this thing popped out of a portal. So
yeah.
Anyways.
And like I will say she does have a recurring thing on a lot of the sources that I was looking at, where she said basically, I'll take a lie detector test. I stand by my story. And she independently paid for 3 separate lie detector tests to corroborate her story, which we do know lie detectors are bunk.
Sure.
They're just they're a stress measure.
I would just add that none of this is to say that I think this woman is lying. I just think that the control of the narrative is lost once the like diehard UFO investigators are in on the scene, especially like within the last couple decades. That's all I'm really trying to say.
Yeah, I just think I understand the impulse to make that kind of claim, to be like, I stand by my story.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't know that lie detectors are fake because they watched too many cop shows. And like, so I don't hold it immediately against her as like you're intentionally manipulating things, but it also doesn't add that much validity for me.
Yeah,
so.
No, I'm ready to believe her. I'm a little more suspicious of the other guy, I guess.
Yeah. There is one other person involved with the initial sighting for Clark, her neighbor Dave, who came out and saw the initial stuff with her, and then was also witness to some of the later stuff that happens once, the military starts camping in the field behind her house, which we'll get to in just a second. But one of the things that comes out of this with Dave is specifically, they claim that there were, quote, spotter planes in the air up to 2 or 3 days before this event happened. So a part of this whole thing is that the military knew that something was coming. And that leads to the entire force of these people, this military presence, being there to shoot down and compromise this UFO to a permanent end. Which there's like the premeditated nature of the like. I should probably say this before I keep going down this rabbit hole. The battle thing that I'm talking about is not something that's in every account. That is something that gets talked about on kind of speculation, and it's like part of the kind of cover-up conspiracy surrounding it. There are people who just think that the military was a reaction to this thing happening, and were there to try to figure out what the fuck this thing was effectively. But the way that the timing of these things works out leads some people to believe that the military, especially if you believe the spotter plane thing, it leads people to think that the military was aware that something was going to, I guess, come through a portal in the sky above Pentyrch, Wales, and were there to shoot it.
Yeah, it's a UFO 9/11.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And all right. So, so Dave was like seeing these spotter planes in quote anticipation of the event. And they're basically saying that the military was monitoring this area for days before this thing happened. So basically the events that happened on the initial sighting are, you have a large triangular craft, come out of a portal in the sky, and it's seen above this field. and then a bunch of military planes come out, and this thing crashes in the Smilog Woods, which is a little bit of a ways. It's like, I think they said something like it's within 8 minutes of Pentyrch. Like it's very close by. And so this leads to various things that happen after the fact. There is something, okay, this is a thing that also is not in every account of this that I don't know exactly what to do with. There's certain accounts of this that talk about a little bit more to do with the kind of battle, where there's the triangular craft is using this, like, they specifically described it as thick lightning. You know how lightning is like kind of spindly and thin? This was like that, but typically thicker.
Okay.
So I guess some sort of energy beam type thing. And there also were these smaller craft that came out and were like, moving much quicker than this large triangular one. And then there's another thing where that Kaz mentions seeing this this green light in the sky that was quite a bit brighter than the moon, that she couldn't get a shape out of it because looking at it was bright enough that it kind of distorted your ability to tell its actual shape. Like you're looking into a bright light, and it's like leaving burns in your vision effectively.
I mean, it's that bright?
This is also one of those things that isn't in every accounting, but is pretty common. That's more common than the thick lightning, but the thick lightning tickled me so much that I had to mention it.
I feel like thick lightning would do more than tickle, but
yeah.
I do. I'm just trying to picture thick lightning. So they're saying that it was like because like you can, if you watch lightning, as many of us do, it's a pastime here in Indiana. The more powerful it is, the bigger the thing is. So are they saying it's like the conical, if you will, shape? It's more beam-like than like a streak. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm using the right words.
I'll just read the exact quote from Kaz Clark.
Okay.
So she recalled how it then, quote, ejected a hand of lightning, not thin lightning, but thick like fingers. So I guess what she's saying is that it was like, it's like if the spindles of a lightning bolt were made like a thick-fingered, fat-fingered hand through the night sky.
Huh.
I guess like tree trunky, maybe, is how I imagine it. But this thing not only did that really bright light, like bright green object thing, but it also then shot thick-fingered hand lightning at stuff. And then it also ejected more multiple green orbs being ejected from the top of the object. So this thing, like, it really just like, it seemed like the triangle was in space and it just started ejecting a bunch of shit out of it in different directions and different shapes and colors and whatever. And all of this led to military helicopters arriving, flying extremely low to the ground. They passed over where Dave and Kaz were standing and watching along. And they were followed by two bizarre, quote, barrel-shaped silent objects that were approximately the size of a small car. Those objects were red and appeared to be moving, and Kaz says specifically they appeared to be, quote, turning in on itself like a cake mixture being stirred. So these...
What the fuck?
Yeah, so not only is the alien craft doing a bunch of weird shit, but these military helicopters are being pursued by this like weird red barrel mixing thing that I don't really know what it was.
That's all very unique and strange. Although the barrel makes me think of those, I want to say it's a military style parachute where it's almost like a tube. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like if that was like trailing behind another craft, maybe I could
see that for sure. Yeah, but
that's weird. Like the thick lightning, I'm still kind of hung up on because like I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. It almost sounds like it makes me think of like what if it just had like a series of like spotlight beams that were shooting out of it.
Sure,
like that's. But that doesn't. But lightning is such a.
It's such a quick
particular descriptor.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Very weird. Very weird.
So, continuing on, one of the red objects that was trailing those military helicopters stopped approximately 20 feet away from where Clark was watching. She, for whatever reason that she still can't explain, raised her hand and waved at the object, and as this red object hovered, she got the impression that this red barrel thing was scanning her before it eventually then moved away. And this is... I don't trust this exactly, but supposedly...
Okay.
Within 24 hours of this incident, after her being scanned by this object, her hair turned white.
Is this... Okay.
I cannot corroborate that. I have seen she does have like gray, light, white hair in some of the stuff I was watching of her that took place in 2021, I believe, was the video clips I was seeing of her. But I have absolutely no idea when that happened.
Okay. Let me throw an idea at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't remember where I heard this from. It almost sounds, it might be like a Foucault thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in a crowd of people and a police officer near the crowd of people yells, "Hey you,"
yeah,
and you turn to look, even if you're not guilty, in the moment when that happens, you suddenly become as if you are guilty.
Sure.
Like obviously you're like, maybe you're not the person they're looking for, but nonetheless, because this person who holds a position of power over others, you become guilty in the moment that you decide to interact with that command.
Okay.
So I'm going somewhere with this. The moment you decide that you can wave to what is ostensibly a UFO, you have already become scanned, even if it's not an alien or a UFO.
Sure. Yeah.
So, again, this is just to say, I don't want to totally disbelieve her account, but that's pretty wild shit. And I do think that if you were to see something very weird in the sky and start thinking about UFOs and you try to interact, you're going to feel as if something weird is going down. You know what I'm saying?
The whole the idea that the scanning was not something that she physically had any actual feeling or saw anything verifiable. Like it's not like a beam came out of it and traced from her head down to her toes. It was just an object standing there, and she felt seen. Which maybe the aliens just are just really we're just saying hi. I don't know. But there's just a tiny bit more of the initial sighting here. So as all these things are going off in all the different directions, Clark and her neighbors, including Dave, went back to their houses and I guess right after she got home, she says 30 seconds away from where they had stood, a huge explosion happened, and this explosion was, quote, so loud and so big that it shook people awake in their beds. And this was while there were multiple different kinds of military aircraft in the air, and all of them were heavily armed, battle-ready things. Now, this wonderful article that I was looking at from UFO Insight was able to confirm with the British Geological Survey that there is data that confirms that there was a seismological anomaly in the area at the time of this incident in Wales.
Oh.
So whether it was an explosion or an earthquake, I don't know, because that's not something the data can confirm. But something shook. There are a couple pieces of physical evidence, including the seismological anomaly, plus in the place where the craft supposedly crashed, there's some stuff that we'll talk about in a minute. That this kind of feels like one of those things where something happened, whether it was military, whatever, or something, I don't think it was necessarily UFOs, but it feels like something went wrong during a military exercise or something, like...
Hey, look, I don't think that aliens are involved. Let me say that much.
Yeah.
But hey, it does sound like a UFO event to me, by definition.
Yeah. It is. It's unidentified aerial phenomenon. We can go with the UAP modern terminology here if we want to.
Yeah.
So after the following morning, Clark posted some comments on social media remarking on the events of the night, and this led to the Wales Online website picking up the story, and it was the beginning of Kaz Clark as the witness of this thing. Shortly after this, a person who she does not have any connection to or know contacted her, asking her who she had spoken to about what she had seen and how those conversations had taken place. And for whatever reason, she decided to meet up with this person to discuss the matter. And this led to a meeting where Clark, as she's quoted as saying that she was, the person asked her bluntly if she was, quote, worried about what might happen to her and members of her family. And she was threatened with being involved in a, quote, fatal car accident if she was to continue to talk about this case. So there's like a threatening government agent, Men in Black-y type situation here too.
Hey, I'm going to give people UFO experiencers out there a hot tip. If you get a call from an anonymous person telling you they want to talk with you about your experience and you don't know who that person is, you're about to meet with the Men in Black. Do not meet up with that person. That's fucked up, though. Does she have, like, any information on this like, does she talk at all beyond just this is a meeting that happened, or...
No. It's basically it didn't stop her. She published a book. After that, she went on multiple things. After that, she's been talking.
This is also a problem here. It's like I believe that people who have seen UFO stuff have interacted with strange, maybe shady people after the fact who tell them to shut up about the story or whatever. There are good stories that you probably did happen. At the same time, there's also this problem of, like, if you have an encounter with the Men in Black, which is what this person is describing basically, although in some it's a bit vague, it also serves to legitimize your story.
Yeah. If somebody in quote in power has come to try to silence you, then it obviously means that whatever you saw was important.
Yeah.
So, she has been asked, why no photographs were taken, because it was 2016. Why was nobody holding a fucking camera phone, And this is because she claimed that the night of the incident, her and several other people tried to take photos and video of it, but all their phones were dead, because seemingly insinuating that there was some sort of electromagnetic interference
EMF
thing going on. Either by way of a military plane or by the UFOs themselves that caused everyone's phones to be out of commission. So.
Weird.
Now, there are some other witnesses of this thing. There's a guy named Mike Henberry, who's another person that will get cited as a person who witnessed this, who claimed to it, but his is a little less robust. His story is basically that he claimed to that night see a, quote, red pulsing light before noticing two further lights that make a triangular formation. He also then said that various orbs came out of the craft that were red and green, and they moved, quote, as if they were dancing and molding into one pulsing from red to green slowly. So slightly different in detail, but not like within the realm of, he didn't see the thick lightning. He didn't see the military craft with the scanning barrels or whatever, but he did see the triangular thing with the stuff coming out of it in the sky, So there are some other unnamed witnesses that I wasn't able to find a lot of detail on, who corroborated that they saw some lights in the sky that night. And again, some of those kind of reiterate some sort of portal or interdimensional gateway. But the way that this whole thing ends basically is that those military helicopters that come in at the end, effectively chase this thing off and either shoot it down or cause it to down into the Smilog Woods, where there's a big explosion, which is that explosion we heard at the end of Kaz Clark's story, and that is the crash site, basically. So, this gets us into kind of the aftermath. People went to go investigate, and they found there are actual pictures of this stuff that I'm going to talk about here. There's pictures of this crash site in the Smilog Woods where there's just basically like a long stretch where there is a bunch of trees that are broken and downed. And they're pretty tall trees. Like they're not like, it's not like it's like saplings. Like they're, I don't know, at least 20 to 30 feet tall. 60-foot trees here are some of them. That's part of the quote here. I was trying to guess based on the pictures, and I was very little sense of scale in this image. So they went to go look at this like hours after the initial thing, and by the time they got to this woods, the actual craft was gone. The things that they found were a bunch of trees that were snapped in half mid-trunk, and these snap trees went on, quote, as far as the eye could see. They kind of investigated this area a little bit and found various scrapings and strange white burn marks on the surrounding trees, as well as an extremely pungent smell that kind of littered this whole area where the trees were knocked over. But in the weeks that followed this, various teams started to show up in the area. There was a military presence that set up camp in the basically in that field in Kaz's backyard, and she has photos of the tents and stuff. Like there was, whether it was full-blown military or not, I can't say, but there are tents a bunch of tents with people hanging out that you can find pictures of online from 2016.
That's so weird. I did just find, I had to look, I did just find photos of the downed trees in Smilog Woods that were allegedly this thing crashed.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, it does look like something huge fell.
Yeah, and there is an official explanation, which I'll get to shortly. But it's... The official explanation is weird. So supposedly a team of field researchers showed up and set up a temporary campsite near the crash site, and they started to investigate this whole thing. Kaz, a lot of the stuff is from Kaz, recalling that they were doing a, quote, fingertip search of the field below the flight path, kind of like going through and combing through everything and looking for debris and everything. But Kaz would note that whenever you would go to try to like look at what these people were doing, every single one of them would stand up and watch you and like stop what they were doing and stare at you and watch until you left, effectively. Like,
oh geez,
she described it as, quote, spooky and like a cult. And around this crash site, this is another one of those pieces of, I think, verifiable information. Radiation levels at this place after the supposed crash were as high as 1.2 EMF, which is 6 times higher than the safe range of 0.2 to 0.4. I saw someone say that this is basically the same level of radiation for like a chest x-ray.
Okay.
And that radiation remained higher than normal up until 2021. It took that long to go back to normal.
Wow. Okay. What the fuck? That also, the thing of them all turning to stare at you, like, it's funny that she's like, this is cult-like. It does almost read to me like in the military handbook, in military intelligence handbook, like if a civvy gets too up in your business,
yeah,
just be just be scary as hell and everybody stare. Like, that would make you want to leave, right? Like, I don't think it's necessarily because they're a cult, but you could, if you've ever looked at like the psychological warfare handbook stuff, like they have some weird ideas about how to deal with particular incidents. I could just see that being an idea that they run with that would be very effective in scaring people off.
Yeah, so...
But it's no wonder you have these stories of, like, Men in Black behaving strangely and inhumanly, right? Like...
Yeah.
That's
you're
how
following
those stories happen.
Weird, rigid psychological warfare protocol. Like, it makes for some unnatural seeming activity with people, and a lot of times you're dealing with people in various, because like a lot of these people were described as being in like those white one piece suits that with like the hoods and everything. They're in like radiation suits basically, so that adds to an element of like, you know, strangeness to this whole thing. So the YouTube video channel I was trying to come up with earlier is Paranormal Scholar. They have a video on the Pentyrch UFO case that gave me some kind of tidbits that weren't in the other stuff I was looking at, including the official explanation for these broken and fallen trees in the Swilog Woods. And that is, they supposedly, this comes from the Forestry Service is who is supposedly states this. Supposedly there was an outbreak of what is known as larch disease, which is a kind of a disease-based rot that comes up, and it causes these like black pussy things that come out of the bark of these trees, and that leaves spores that can then infect everything else. So they had to clear a really wide, long stretch of trees that were infected with larch disease so as to not compromise the entire forest. Now, there are some people who push back at this because those spores last for a while. And in this specific instance, the trees were cut down and removed and replaced very quickly. So it goes against the kind of protocol for larch disease where you have to leave the area unreplanted for a while for those spores to be fully dealt with and die before you can replant, so those new trees don't also get infected. And that, as far as I'm aware, that protocol was not followed here. So that is the explanation and the dissent to the explanation.
It also, I mean, I don't know if I was looking at the right photo, so maybe I'll just have to get the pictures from you after this. But the photo that I saw does make it look like the trees were just all knocked down.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I somehow can't imagine that helps in dealing with tree-killing spores, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, I could see them going in and, like, if this was an actual incident with spores, you would, like, cut the trees down and remove them systematically, right? But this made it look like they were all just like all crashed, knocked over.
Yeah, I guess basically the theory here is that those pictures were taken before the trees were cleared out, I guess. But that also that whole thing it just kind of stinks to me.
It doesn't,
you know?
read. Yeah, it's a little swamp gassy to me.
Yeah. So there were a couple other corroborating witnesses that came out a little bit after the fact. There was a woman who was an on-duty nurse at the Royal Glenmorgan Hospital. Glamorgan, sorry, not Glenmorgan, the Scotch. Royal Glamorgan Hospital, who claimed to have heard, quote, an extremely loud explosion that sounded as if it had come from right outside the hospital a little after 2 a.m. on the night in question. She continues that then there was a second explosion a short time afterwards, and this one sounded a little further away. So I guess that would be the initial thing that drew people out of their houses, like Kaz, and then the crash, effectively. She also said that around the time of this, she went outside, and there was a, quote, smell of sulfur all around. And they link this to the weird smell of that Kaz Clark found at the crash site. So I guess the UFOs stink of sulfur, maybe? Anyway, so this
hell.
is... Oh, sure.
They flew out of the portal. They came from hell, went through the portal, bringing a little bit of that hell stink with them.
Yeah. So, yeah, like that would be a funny way to go with, like, why do these things reek of sulfur? Oh, because they're actually from hell. This giant triangular craft is actually holding Satan, and that's why there's thick lightning, because Satan's a thick boy and is fucking raining hell lightning down on the world, you know?
As far as weird interpretations of UFOs go, that really is not so far-flung, in my opinion. You know, if we're already there's plenty of people who are like religious UFO folks who have developed stories like that. You know, I would not be surprised if somebody out there had a story about UFOs being crafts from hell.
Yeah,
frankly, it wouldn't surprise me.
What would Satan's UFO look like? Maybe that'll be a big question sometime.
Probably be like a sick ass black chariot thing that's covered in hellfire and stinks of sulfur.
Yeah.
And has like 6 heads. That would be kind of cool.
That'd be sick.
I guess that's not really a UFO, but
No.
you know, who's to say? Like, we have such an outdated image of hell in our minds because that's where all that stuff originally came from. How do we know that hell didn't modernize? You know?
Yeah, honestly, the last time we have reports of hell was thousands of years ago. So
it'd be
there
completely
had to be some stuff
apropos
changing,
if there was a technological boom in hell. That just makes perfect sense to me.
Hell has the iPhone too, you know? So
and they haven't upgraded past that version yet, but they're working on it.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get to permutate on an idea in hell. Anyway, so the nurse has a couple more things in her sighting. She also doesn't believe it was a military exercise because on the night in question, all roads in the local area were closed, and that doesn't track completely with something normal because this town is a very small police force. It's just like a village, basically. So there's not a huge police force, but there was a lot of police out and about that night. And so it seems like people were brought in from other regions to block off roads in this area. And that is another kind of feather in the cap of the prior knowledge theory that Kaz has as well. They're also the nurse also mentions that when this stuff happened, a bunch of the residents of the Royal Glamorgan Hospital were awakened in their beds, and then at some point throughout all of this, thick black smoke, presumably from the crash site, came in through the vents in the windows of the building, and along with setting off a bunch of car alarms in the surrounding area. So that crash caused a lot of ruckus, including smoke going into a nearby hospital. I also don't have confirmation of that. That is just that is the sighting of an unnamed nurse that worked at this hospital, who I think has remained anonymous.
You know, we once crashed a U-2 spy plane over the Soviet Union. Not to say that this stuff all goes back to the United States, but I guess what I'm saying is that there's a precedent for like accidentally crashing important top secret military craft. That happens. So.
It does. And honestly, that's the kind of thing that I think might have happened here. You know, like it feels like they were testing something and something went wrong and they had to clean it up really quickly. Because there's enough denial, because we're about to get into Gary Jones and his Freedom of Information Act requests and stuff. Because just to kind of round out this episode, but there's enough kind of sweeping stuff under the rug that it feels a little weird to me. Gary Jones has a history as a paranormal researcher, as a UFO researcher, not paranormal, extraterrestrial researcher, I guess. And he was brought in to kind of guide Chaz Clark, and they co-wrote the kind of the book on this subject together that was released in, I think, 2021. But in 2018, Gary Jones got a series of Freedom of Information Act requests sent through. And these questions, specifically, he was asking about the military exercises and the various places that were blocked off that night. So ultimately, he asked 4 specific questions in his request. Why was Smilog Woods closed to the public during this time, the 25th and 26th of 2016, which is the dates of this, all this stuff happened? What exactly is the reason for the military being in the Smilog Woods during this time? Whose authority was it to close the woods to the public during this time? And why were the roads closed down in areas of L'Entresant and around Smilog during this time? Approximately a month later, he received some responses. And the response stated, There was no permission granted to the military to close the woodland and public paths and let off explosives in the woodlands mentioned during these dates, or in fact any dates, so we have no records, adding that, quote, this type of activity would have required permission. And then some of the other stuff was met with that thing I was talking about, the Section 26 response. So he basically got a denial mixed with, you don't get to know that, which those came even more so when he tried to FOI the Army and Air Force, which he did as well.
I mean, if you're being told we have a specific order here that we're not going to tell you what happened, that's the kind of thing that only invites more speculation and suggests something did happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so he specifically... the Section 26 category, they say, means it's, quote, not in the public interest for that information to be
What does that mean, though?
I assume it effectively means it's classified, it's top secret, it's whatever. It's a secret government thing that the general public doesn't need to know about. And this is like the big thing that people really have trouble with, because there isn't, unless you believe that this was just a training exercise, which, maybe it was, whatever, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff that they don't have direct answers for, and a lot of that includes them specifically saying that's not really good for you to know. And that is a thing that instantly makes anyone who is looking into this kind of thing like froth at the mouth that there is a cover up.
Yeah, if you go and something extremely weird happens, it's unclear what happened, but something strange happened, and then you're just told like a dozen or so times that all these things you're asking about are classified, you're 100% going to come away saying something fucking happened here. 100%. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. It really does. I understand why governments want to have this kind of thing, a non-answer, but it really doesn't help the public conscious, and maybe that's the point, like maybe they want speculation, maybe they want these people to be out there because it provides cover for them testing some new fucking plane or whatever, Yeah,
it's better to have confused and alien and UFO obsessed public than leaks about technology getting back to enemies around the world or whatever the fuck the worry is. It just makes sense.
So supposedly I didn't find any specific accounts, but lights have continued to be seen over Pentyrch since. Not with like a lot of regularity, but there have been some sights up in the sky and some lights that people see that also have gone pretty unexplained. There also were various other sightings around the same time in the same area that people will kind of reference. Like there's a guy named Lee Frame in Edinburgh was driving on the M8 and his dash cam captured a glowing object over the highway. There was a report in Enfield, London, around the same time. There were other sightings around the time in a way that people want to point to as corroboration for the fact that something weird happened in Wales at the time. I don't know how seriously to take all of those because, a lot of them are much less spectacular. The most notable one is the Enfield sighting, which does not have an exact date. But witnesses captured several minutes of footage of an object from the window of their apartment. And at first, the object looks like a large star or maybe a helicopter. But as they zoomed in, they were able to see that it was some sort of aerial vehicle that was not a normal helicopter. And it appeared to be changing shape as it went through the sky. They said, quote, I've never seen a helicopter dismantle itself and reattach itself midair before. So there was some sort of like Transformers-esque transformation happening in the sky, and people will point to this as, hey, weird shit was happening in the skies around this time, so that means that the Pentyrch account was true. Do with that as you will.
Well, I looked up the footage and I'm watching it right now.
How convincing is it?
It's hard to know what I'm looking at, to be honest. It's weird if it's a thing in the sky. I can say that much, but I can't really tell what's going on in the footage.
Yeah.
But maybe there's been some analysis done elsewhere. This was the first one that I found, but
Yeah.
I was curious. I had to know. That sounded interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story of the Pentyrch UFO incident. There's not, like, it still is a thing that people are trying to do research into. They're trying to figure out what happened. There's still a lot of questions that people want to have answered. So because this is something that happened 9 years ago, it still is very active in terms of people feeling like they still don't have all the answers and trying to find them.
I mean, this is it. You're right in sort of relating it to an older UFO case. It kind of feels similar, except now you have people who randomly have footage from other towns and stuff. And
yeah,
but it's like it's another one of those stories where I just hearing this, it sounds like something happened, and the military made it stink. You know, like what else can you really say? I don't know. I'm really never convinced of alien stuff, but it sounds like people saw some really weird shit that night.
Yeah,
you know?
it sounds like some weird shit was happening over Wales on the night of February 25th, 2016. What it was, I have no fucking clue. But for some reason, they shut down like all the roads surrounding this forest. So go figure.
I'd never heard this story before, but I'm gonna keep tabs on it, see if any updates come. I'd like to read the book too. Honestly, that sounds interesting.
I didn't get a chance to read the book, but I did watch some like a documentary thing, and I read a bunch of articles, and I would. There is footage, like you can find Kaz Clark interview footage about this stuff out there very readily. So if you're interested in any of that, hearing more of it from her specifically, it's out there. You know, that's the nice thing about this being from 9 years ago. It all happened in the internet age, so all of this shit is archived. All right. Do you want to do a big question?
Yeah.
All right. So I was really inspired by the fact that this fucking big old triangular UFO thing was shooting thick lightning and these green small craft and all that shit. And I want to know, Kyle, if you could envision your signature weapon for your UFO type, what would that look like?
Oh my God. That's a good question. So this is a weapon that my UFO deploys.
Yeah.
Now, am I piloting the UFO, or am I just a witness? Or is that up to interpretation?
I guess that's up to interpretation. In my head, it was your personal UFO that you have, and it has this special thing. But if you want to be a witness, that's fine. If you want to take a secondary role in here, go for it.
I think I just have to see a classic, hyper powerful beam cannon.
Okay.
I want to see a big ass, you know. I mean, look, I'm my curiosity is very piqued by thick lightning. The phrase it rolls off the tongue in a terrible way that I find fun.
Honestly, I feel like I should try it out as a nickname. You know, I think thick lightning could work for me.
Thick lightning's pretty good. Run that one by Jules, see what she thinks.
Yeah.
No, I want to see like a big proper beam cannon that like just blows up an entire city block.
Uh-huh.
There's one important catch. When it's charging the beam cannon, the UFO has to scream loud as hell.
Okay. Yeah.
It has to just emit a terrible, terrible scream. Like, you know those videos of people who, I think we did an episode on this, where people are out there like hearing like ambient loud noise just going through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that, but like a high-pitched scream right before the beam. And then like
so it's kind of like a Super Saiyan charging some bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it has this kind of high-pitched yell that is signaling that this the beam is, you're charging your laser, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, God. Jesus Christ. Yeah. If we want to go back to bar mitzvah talk, 13-year-old bar mitzvah Kyle would want the thing to yell, "I'm a charging my laser." That could be pretty freaking epic.
Uh-huh.
But adult Kyle, whose taste has really matured, wants it to scream, and then maybe we shut down all of Tokyo 3 to harness the energy to fight it.
I've been trying to figure out how to make that reference this whole time because it was the first thing I thought of, but you beat me to it.
But so all joking aside, though, how uncanny would it be to experience a UFO that had some sort of weird beam weapon and also made just human noises, really loud human freaky noises?
Yeah,
I mean, it's such a striking image to me, and it's burned into my brain, and will be burned into my brain in another way when it fires its beam cannon and vaporizes me in one
directly
shot.
through your skull.
Yeah.
And that beam is going to be thick enough that it just vaporizes your entire skull.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm gone. I mean, that beam encompasses all of my body and then some.
Yeah.
So what's your weapon?
I was trying to think of something that is in the kind of like, I like kind of an indirect weapon in a way, like something that's harder to aim. Like I was thinking about some sort of like poisonous like acid bubble.
Shit.
That like,
okay,
so I like it's like a big bubble wand that then when the bubbles pop, it spews just fucking acid everywhere, you know?
Okay, is this I'm trying to remember what this is a reference to.
Oh, if you figure it out, that's fine, because I don't have anything. It's just this is just something I thought of.
Oh, this is just something you thought of. I was gonna be like, yeah, and maybe your UFO is like it's created from all the polluted materials in the area.
Oh, kind of a Hedra situation, sure.
Yeah, or maybe your UFO, when its acid bubble pops over somebody, they like turn into foam and disappear.
See, you're one step ahead of me, because I should have just made my personal UFO the UFO form of Hedra, which is kind of what I'm dealing with here. So, you know, or if you're an uncultured American, Godzilla versus the smog monster, it's the smog monster, whatever the fuck. But UFO Hedra is like I was so delighted every time that UFO form showed up.
Yeah.
It's so
yeah.
like 60s suitmation,
it's
fucking
really great.
This like UFO with these big eyes, and it's all like covered in like muck, and it just like, that movie is weirdly dark in like, it does just like spew acid and leave bones of people
just skeletons. So do you think that your UFO's weapon, you said it would burst, or would it like kind of slowly roll across the surface of the planet like a Katamari of death and just absorb people and turn them into just dissolved skeletons? Or would it just shoot out and just burst over people and dissolve them?
It could have two modes. It could be like acid bubble and then like blob, you know? Like,
yeah.
I think shooting out like blob would be like, I'm talking about like the movie The Blob, you know, talking specifically the Chuck Russell 1980s one. I think those are two things that could kind of go hand in hand and give me an interesting and versatile way of wreaking mass death and suffering on the unsuspecting populace.
Between our two UFOs, we could destroy the entire world, frankly.
Oh, for sure.
Unless somebody is out there willing to fashion us some mech suits. Tell you what, we'll get our brightest minds on this. You can get like a henshin belt.
Yeah.
And I'll get a mech suit.
Okay.
And we will combat the monstrosities together. But there will be psychological trauma brought about through either transformation or piloting a mech that we're, psychologically in sync
of course.
with. It'll be problematic, but we'll get the job done. And, we might accidentally unleash some sort of, metaphysical apocalypse, but that's for later us to handle.
I do respect the fact that you gave me the thing I prefer as opposed to the thing that would make technically more sense by going with a Kamen Rider thing as opposed to an Ultraman thing. I didn't know if you just didn't know the phrase beta capsule or whatever the fuck. Because
not off the top of my head.
Yeah. I do love Ultraman in concept. I just have yet to really take that plunge outside of Shin.
I'm pretty sure there are humans who wind up, like, doesn't Ultraman sort of take over a human? Isn't that the idea?
In some series, yes, there is kind of a Captain Marvel type They share a
Right.
physical space, and you have
you
to like
could
swap
do-
between them.
You could do the fucking the beam. Do the thing with your
Yeah.
hands, with your arms, and just shoot the beam.
Oh,
at
I'm
these
I'm
guys.
gonna beam clash your UFO so fucking hard.
Oh!
It's gonna go nuts.
I just remembered the coolest Ultraman thing I saw where, like, I think it was Ultraman or Kamen Rider. I saw this clip where Ultraman was firing a beam at another guy who was firing an opposing beam. And at one point, the beams sort of, like, go around each other. And his beam, like, goes all the way around the world or something. It was something really crazy like that. I'll have to find this clip. I'll look that up. It was awesome.
I follow a Toku GIFs account, and I saw that there, and I honestly forget what series that's from. So
Well, that's what I'm picturing you doing.
yeah, I think that's sick. I think that's the way to go.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Well, do you want to take care of some business?
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
We're on Blue Sky at It Gets Weird, unless I think you're in Missouri. I don't know whether you saw this, but it looks like some of those stupid, like, age verification laws are fucking up Blue Sky in one state right now in particular. So, sorry if that's you, but you can find us there. But if you're out in Missouri or wherever that happened, go ahead and check us out on twitch.tv/itgetsweird. I've been playing Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlocke with friend of the show Colin, so you can find us there as well. You can also email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and send us, feel free to send emails just totally sucking us off. That's fine. And I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah, it's great.
But also feel free to send stories or, not prequel, but like previews of the fact that you're going to send stories are fine too. Go ahead and send those into us. Shoot us an email at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Just let us know how we should refer to you, and your story might get read on the show. Your email might end up on the show. We appreciate all the emails we get from all of you. You all send us great stuff, so keep them coming. We love it. Check out patreon.com/itgetsweird. This is the best way to support us. We have a $1 tier, a $2 tier, and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is the tip tier. Think of it like a tip jar. You're just giving us $1 saying, hey, thanks for doing what you do, and you're not getting anything in return. But if you want bonus content, you just have to pledge $1 more at $2. We have It Gets Weird TV, comes out every other week. Niall and I talk about weird television. You get to vote on the shows we watch. Right now we are watching season 3 of The X-Files, and we've done the first 2 seasons too. That's all on there as well, plus a bunch of other shows. So check it out. But if you want the most bang for your buck, that's going to be the $5 tier, where we also have a show called World of Weird, where Niall and I talk about whatever we want, including music, movies, stuff about UFOs and conspiracies that don't make it into the main show, whatever we want. It's a lot of fun. Comes out in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting bonus content every single week at the $5 tier. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday on your own private Patreon feed, which I'm currently working on getting on Spotify because people are requesting that. So soon you will have a Patreon feed you can plug into Spotify as well. You also get access to the Discord where we're hanging out chatting with our listeners. Just like you at home right now, you could be chatting with us about Bigfoot any time of day through our Discord. You just got to come and give us your money. So
yeah.
Check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. If you can't donate, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for continuing to support the show. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.
Peace.